Good afternoon. Welcome to our training. I'm Zhang Jingyi. Exciting to have you here. Today, we will gain knowledge about the art of storytelling in business presentation. Let's make this session productive and rewarding. Allow me to introduce our keynote speaker, Mr. Gary Law. With a wealth of corporate experience, Mr. Gary is a seasoned trainer and TED speaker. He has trained MBA master students and professionals at Fortune 500 companies. He has been recognized for his high-impact presentations, delivering over 1,000 speeches in 30 cities, and instructing at renowned companies such as JP Morgan, Apple, Microsoft, L'Oreal, Nielsen, and more. We are honored to have him here today to introduce us and guide us on transforming information into stories and developing clear and concise yet impactful messages to gain stakeholder buy-in. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Mr. Gary Law.
Okay, good afternoon. So good to see everyone. Sorry for the wait. So there was a traffic situation. So interestingly, I know that you guys have a case about Ocean Park. So basically this morning I was just having another training actually at Ocean Park. So I was lucky to catch the same car with Stella together to kind of come over. And I believe the last time I came to your campus might be something I think around 5 years ago. Okay, so certainly something before COVID. So very happy to be here, and also thank you for your time. I know that some of you actually changed your schedule to be here, so I also hope that this is going to be a fruitful session for all of you. Okay, first of all, I know that there's going to be a mix of different participants today, so who in the group right here has already joined a case competition before representing the school? Anyone who has joined before? Okay, yeah, be proud. Okay. So not that many. Okay, great. So others, I guess you aspire to represent the school or also kind of work better in these case competitions. Okay, wonderful. So today the topic is going to be about art of storytelling. So basically it's about how to elevate our presentation skills in these case competitions. And of course, the application is not only in your case competition. In the future, when you work in the corporate, it's going to be something equally impactful and important as a skill set. Okay, first of all, just a brief introduction about myself. My name is Gary, so currently I'm doing full-time corporate training. Something interesting about my background is actually I did not start my career in training nor HR. Actually, I started my career in marketing. Okay, so back in those days, I graduated back in Hong Kong. I was aiming for a lot of FMCG companies to start as a management trainee. So basically, I started from a food company called Nestle. Okay, so then I moved on to different industries, including pharmaceutical companies, tech firms, luxury. Basically, back at that time, I was just thinking that the next industry would be the best fit for me. Okay, so I keep on shifting around a little bit. It happens I still couldn't find what I was able to really get. So eventually, what I decided to do is to leave the corporate world, and I actually joined the university. Okay, so back to my alma mater, which is UST, the MBA program where I graduated. So I actually joined the school as a staff. So back at that time, then I really enjoyed the work and really realized that I think education is my real passion. So back in 2018, I decided to start my business. So fortunately, throughout the years, I was able to work with a lot of different industries, organizations, and very lucky to have met Stella early on, and also she invited me here to do some workshops. So again, glad to be here again because I think the last time I visited was 5 years ago, and I hope that today is going to be a very practical session because the thing I'm sharing with you today is the same exact course that I share with a lot of corporate executives. So I hope this is really going to be a head start for everyone because again, I'm not holding back the knowledge because you guys are back at the university. And I would say if you could already learn how to tell better stories or make better presentations at this stage, I'm sure it's not only going to be helpful for your case competition, but even your interviews or also your career growth in the future. So I hope you guys find value in this session. Okay, so because of time, originally I was planning for a warm-up discussion, but because we were late for 10 minutes, so I'm gonna cut this out to make sure that we maintain the content, okay? But something I still want you guys to think about is who do you see as a great presenter and storyteller? And take a second to help me think about this. If you would need to analyze why they are great at storytelling, what are gonna be the elements and components? Okay, so you could just kind of quickly think about this. Now, one more time, in view of time, I may need to directly review the answer to you. So if you think about presentation and storytelling, basically it's about communication, and there are three components to it. One is content. So obviously, what I'm telling you, what I'm saying right now, my PowerPoints and everything. But if you think about a good presentation, it's not only about the content, because we understand if you go and join the case competition, even if you have the perfect deck, that doesn't guarantee you success, right? So what also matters is your body language and also your audio expression. So just like now, okay, I've been doing this introduction for a few minutes. I'm sure you have a perception about me. But the question comes down to how did you form that perception? It is basically a combination of what you see, meaning my body language. Also, the other thing is how you hear me say things, which would obviously make a difference as well. So if I have to break it down, basically it's two levels of presentation. One level at the content level, it's conscious communication, meaning whatever I'm saying, whatever you see on the screen, you consciously interpret, you rationalize, you try to understand the logic behind. Now, what you do not try to analyze is my body language. But now, if you look a little bit more closely, the way that I walk across the classroom, the way I look at you guys, the way that I move my hands, the way I use my voice, my pacing, everything makes a difference. But these are things that we do not analyze. So that's what I call subconscious communication. I'm sure you could feel that, but it's not easy to break down why. So again, if I'm going to ask you, who do you feel like is a great speaker? You could easily give me a name. I'm going to ask you, why do you feel like he or she is better? Then you need to think, okay, why is that? It's because all these things are interpreted more at a subconscious level. So in order to become an effective communicator, what we want to do is to be able to synchronize all these three levels of communication. Okay, so that's also something we want to cover in this 2-hour session today. Okay, so let's jump right into, first of all, the first element about content. First of all, if you think about it, there are two elements. One is what I call the right content. One is what I call the right sequence. So I just want to say these are very simple concepts, but I really want everyone to keep an open mind to think about this, because though this sounds like a simple concept, again, why am I still teaching the same thing at the corporate level? Because this is something that most people missed out. Okay, first of all, what I mean by right content is when you think about content, start by thinking about the who. Okay, so what is the difference right here? What I mean by what is most people, when they think about presentations, the first thing they think about is what I want to say. Okay, hello. Okay, thank you. Now, first of all, what people like to think about is what I want to say. Meaning, if you go back to the Ocean Park case that you were given, if I assume you already put out a draft, I want you to think about the process, how you were planning your presentation. The first thing you were thinking was it, okay, how should I structure my story or presentation? Or did you do from the audience point of view and think about, if these people were my judge, these people were my audiences, what would they want to know instead? Because I want to share a very, very simple concept, but most people miss out is, whatever that you want to say does not necessarily mean this is something that I want to know. Okay, simple enough concept. So a lot of times we say that we want to make an interesting presentation. So my question is, how do we define interesting? It's pretty simple. If you talk about something that I am interested in, then that would be interesting for me. Okay, so let me try to ask you guys this question. To make your presentation more interesting, if you were the judge, I am looking into your ocean case study. What would I want to know as a judge? Any thoughts? What would be your criteria to assess whether this is good or bad? Anything in mind? Again, if you were the judge, I'm going to hand you the Ocean Park case. What would you be looking into? What are the elements that you would feel like this person deserves to win? Any thoughts? You could just shout out the answer. Don't be shy. Any thoughts? This gentleman?
Innovative idea.
Okay. Innovative ideas, great. Okay, visual strategy. Okay, so something like that. I know it's not easy because most of you are just year one, but the key to think about this is don't just think about whatever I know. Don't just think about what you want to present. Is try to think from your audience's point of view. So let's say you need to be submitting this to Professor Stella. You need to submit this to someone else. If I were the judge, how would I assess this is going to be a great presentation? It needs to show the strategy. It needs to be innovative. Great. So now the question comes down to, in your presentation, are you able to demonstrate these elements? So being able to start to think from the audience's point of view is very, very important in all different cases. So in the future, okay, no matter you're going to represent the school right here to kind of join a competition here in Hong Kong, back in China, or just all the way to some global scales, same thing. Always try to think from the judge point of view, what would they want to hear, but don't just focus on what you want to say. Okay, that's going to be the most important thing, number one. Number two, what I mean by right sequence is when you think about your story or presentation, do you start with the information available or do you start with the key message? So what do I mean by that? Most people actually use the way on the upper end, which is you just present whatever information you have, and then after you present all those facts and data, you try to come up with a conclusion. Okay, so I want to tell you, that is not the most effective way to structure a story. A good story does not begin with the opening and you think about the end. It's always the opposite. You want to think about the end and then you go back to the opening. Okay, why? Because let me ask you a very simple question. If now you are a movie director, you're about to put together a story. How would you put together the story? Would you start by the opening scene and think about the ending scene? Or do you think you would think about the ending scene and try to plan about the opening scene? I guess it should be pretty straightforward. You have to do the latter because we always say that we want to have a coherent story. And what do we mean by having a coherent story? Is that if every part of the content aligns with your conclusion. That's what I mean by coherent. Meaning, if you don't even know the conclusion of your story yet, your story would never be coherent. Okay, so of course, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you're not studying the facts and all of a sudden jumping into conclusions. Is you need to study all the facts, you come up with a conclusion, but after that, don't just show all the data you have researched and all the data you have seen. It has to have relevancy. Okay, and what I mean by relevancy is that part of information contributing to your conclusion. Okay, so I'm going to have two questions for you. Number one, after you're going to be presenting something, if I get to interview your audiences, what would you want them to say? You get the question? You present it. I'm going to ask your audiences, what did you just heard? Then they're going to say, oh, well, I heard about this and that. So are you able to articulate the version from your audiences? If you are even not able to articulate the version you hope them to remember, of course, they would not remember anything. Secondly, if you know that these are going to be the takeaway from your audiences, then please think, based on all the content you're sharing, based on all the data you're sharing, are they all contributing to that conclusion? If yes, your story is coherent. If not, those are irrelevant data because it's not making a difference. And again, it's not contributing to your conclusion. Okay, I hope this makes sense. It's a very, very simple idea, but no matter, like now you have put together a PowerPoint deck or something, you could easily ask yourself this question. Is there any information, if I take it out, it still does not change my conclusion, then please take those out because those are irrelevant data. It becomes a distraction. Okay, everyone, two very simple principle ideas, but I will tell you, most people are not able to achieve it, so I want you to start from here. Okay, now, I'm going a little bit more in-depth and also be more practical. We always say storytelling. Okay, so I don't want to focus only on principles. I want to tell you, how does every story look like? Basically, every story in the world, no matter it's going to be a Hollywood movie, no matter it's going to be a Disney cartoon, all the way to a good business presentation, it always follows a 6-step flow. Okay, again, let me try to answer this question. If there are going to be 6 steps to a story, what is the first step of any story? Any thoughts? First step? Where does the story begin with? Opening. The opening is usually about, yeah, okay, background or something, or some people would tell me, well, a story begins with once upon a time, a long, long time ago. Okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. So that is kind of like the background. Now, the thing I want to remind everyone is please do not begin with the background. Okay, if you begin your story with the background, it's not going to be a very engaging story. Why? Let me give you an example. Okay, so let's say now I'm joining the case competition. Today, you guys are going to be the judge. So this is what I'm going to present to you. Is today I want to talk about this Project X for the L'Oreal company. Now let me give you some background. Well, first of all, if you look at the market, like in the past, these were some developments. This is what L'Oreal Global is doing. This is what L'Oreal Asia is doing. This is what we're doing here in China. And again, you can see these consumer behaviors. These are about the younger customers, blah, 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 blah. So you could do all these background, but how would you feel as an audience? Chances are you should be confused. Why? Because the first thing you want to know before the background is, what is your objective in the first place? Meaning, number one, what is this about? Secondly, WIIFM, meaning what's in it for me? Okay, I hope that makes sense. So again, one more time, in the future, if you're going to do these case competitions for a corporate, assuming if I'm going to be a corporate executive sitting right here, I'm not just here to listen to your background. I want to know what you want to talk about. So if you're going to introduce Project X to me, great. But can you use one sentence to tell me what Project X is about? If you cannot even conclude that in one sentence, I do not understand what you're talking about. And secondly, what's in it for me is meaning, if now I listen to you, what is going to be the value you would create for me? Are you going to help me increase my business, increase my market share, make my consumers more happy? Or are you here to help me solve some pain points or problems? So that is what we mean by the hook of a story. What it is a hook is whatever you tell me, there has to be benefits for me. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So again, think about it. For the future, whatever presentation you're making, even before talking about any content, the first thing you need to do is sell your topic. Tell me what this is about and why I should be interested. It's almost like the trailer of a movie. If I'm not going to show you the trailer, I'm going to start play the movie. Very soon you will lose your patience and then you will be losing your audiences. Okay, now, after you have your objective, then you could talk about the background. Okay, the sequence matters a lot because now when you talk about the background, it's going to make a lot more sense for me because I already have a sense in terms of what you want to talk about. So at least when you talk about your background, I could relate it back to the topic. And secondly, also, there's also going to be something you need to take note of is the sequence of how you tell the background. Okay, let me try to get a marker pen and try to talk about this. Well, one very important technique that I would use is something that I call the Disney storytelling model. Okay, so I hope that for your generation, you guys still watch Disney stories. Basically, it's all the same. Okay, let me give you an example about a classic Disney story, and you could try to analyze the pattern of these stories. So usually it sounds like this. Once upon a time, there was a huge land. In this land, there were 3 kingdoms. For the kingdom in the middle, this is the king, this is the queen. They had 3 children. Today's story is about their second child, Princess Anna. Sounds familiar? Okay, here's the question. What about this story flow? Do you see the trends? Do you see the structure? If you think about it, it's always a zoom in approach. Okay, from big to small, that's what I mean by a zoom in approach. So if you want to do zoom in, there are going to be 2 components. One is you always want to begin with the bigger picture. Okay. Secondly, what I mean by zoom in is you also need to have logical progression, meaning for all the information, I need to see the progression right there. It's not just static. It's also not also in a random sequence. Meaning, okay, thinking about your Ocean Park case, you guys already have a draft, right? So did you begin with Ocean Park, which is kind of like a smaller picture in this case? Or did you begin with maybe overall the traveling scene globally? What's happening here in Asia? What's happening here in China mainland? What's happening in Hong Kong? Also, how are the visitor numbers changing for overall Hong Kong all the way to Ocean Park, maybe Disneyland, and then coming to some attractions? You guys see the difference? Because if you directly begin with Ocean Park, that's not the bigger picture. This is what you need to analyze eventually. But again, you want to be setting the scene. So I guess the very least thing I want to see is you want to first start by analyzing what is going to be the overall traffic for visitors in Hong Kong. How is it changing in terms of mix? Overall, is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Whether it's increasing or decreasing, why? Is it contributed for people from certain countries, certain cities, a certain profile, a certain gender, a certain age? You need to analyze all these components to understand what is the different mix here in Hong Kong in order to better understand what's happening in Ocean Park for that specific attraction. Okay, that makes sense? That's what I mean by starting from the bigger picture. So it's almost like if today I'm going to tell you, hey, come to the Hong Kong Disneyland because we have one great attraction called XYZ. And if I keep on talking about XYZ, it could be confusing because you don't even know what XYZ is. Now, if I could start by, well, you know that here, Hong Kong, we have a Disneyland. We have 4 different lands. One land is called the Tomorrowland, which is more futuristic. Within there are 3 rides. One is called Iron Man, one is called this and that, one is called XYZ, which is also under the Marvel themes. And today, I want to talk about XYZ. You see what I was doing? Is starting from the bigger picture, but you need to make sure when you break down the information, there has to be a logical progression. So the idea is almost like when you're clicking on a folder, on a computer folder, you click on this one, they have 3 more. You click on this one, 2 more. Click on this one, 3 more. That is what I call your storyline. Okay? If you do not have progression, I do not know how to follow, and I do not know the direction of a story, then I would lose interest. Yeah? Okay, so everyone, again, everything I'm talking about is something pretty simple right here, but what I want you to do is to continuously reflect on the case that you are prepared for the Ocean Park. First of all, did you talk about the objective even before you started? Then, for the background, did you start from the bigger picture? And based on all the background information you were mentioning, was there a logical progression? Okay, so think about all these elements. Now, if you get this, of course, the second thing I want to mention right here is in the background, you also want to make sure, of course, you need to include the information that people need to know. But at the same time, did you take out the information that people do not need to know? Because that happens all the time. Most people, they just include every data point that they know, but not everything is relevant. So one more time, how would I define whether an information is relevant? Is ask yourself the same question. If I'm going to take out this piece of information, does it still make sense? For whatever information you could take out and it does not change the conclusion of your story, then please take it out, okay? Because making the story simple is the most complicated thing you could do. Okay, so try to think about this, try to think about this. Now, here it comes to the third element of a story, which is also very, very critical and also determines whether you're able to tell a story. Now, let me ask you this question. I'm sure in the group, there are going to be some of the fans of these Marvel superhero movies. Can I ask you guys, what is the common element amongst all Marvel superhero movies? Any thoughts? You're going to have this element for every single superhero movie in the world. Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? If you think about it, of course, there's going to be hero. But at the same time, there has to be a bad guy. Because if there's no villain, why would you need a hero in the first place? So think about a Batman movie. If there's a Batman movie without Joker, there is nothing Batman can do. Okay, so every story, if you want to define a story, every story is about a hero's journey. There's always going to be a certain person with a certain background. They must have gone through some challenges, difficulties, struggle, and hit the bottom part of their life. Okay, so think about it. Have you ever seen any hero that never struggled before? If they never struggled before, you would not define them as a hero, right? They must have gone through a very, very frustrating and desperate state. Finally, they had some personal breakthroughs, made the world a better place. That's what we call a story. Okay, we all understand that every story is the same. Now, if you understand this very basic principle, how do you relate this to a business presentation? Very importantly is, anytime, sell the problem before you sell the solution. Okay, one more time. Sell the problem before you sell the solution. Because in any kind of business cases, people would always tell you, please have your business justification. Have you thought about it? How do we define justification? The problem is the justification. Because if you don't have any problems in the first place, why would I even recommend something new? So of course, Stella was kind enough that in the case, I think she already gave you some guidance to ask you to think about the challenges or opportunities. So why I want to mention this again is because for some of you, if you're just approaching the case and say, for Ocean Park, I have a few great ideas, A, B, and C. So one more time, if I'm going to be the CEO of Ocean Park, how would I feel? Hey, wait a second. First of all, where did this idea come from? There's so many things we could do. Why are we doing this right? Why are we doing this? What I want to hear is, first of all, are you analyzing the visitor mix here in Hong Kong? Local visitors. Who is coming into Ocean Park? Which sector is growing? Which sector is declining? Okay, now, if I want to overall increase our traffic, then which traffic would fit which sector and which biographic? So that is a step-by-step analysis to justify why you feel like this ride is great and this attraction would be great, not just proposing something for the sake of it. Okay, so being innovative is important, but your innovation should be backed by strategy. And what we mean by strategy is clearly able to identify the problem before you suggest any solution. Okay, one more time. So another reflection point based on your presentation that you prepared for today. No matter what you were recommending for Ocean Park, did you back it by a clear problem? So of course, sometimes you might say, oh, but Gary, maybe for my case, the business is doing very well. We have no issues at all. Well, if that's the case, great for you. If you don't have an issue, then sell the opportunity. Okay, you could do something very similar as what I mentioned. If I hope this is not too small for you. You could say, okay, I'm just making an example. Let's say now the business is growing very well for us globally. Asia is growing, North America is growing, Europe is growing. Within Asia, we see all different countries growing. But what we realize is within Asia, these few markets are growing particularly well under these categories and these brands. So that's why in the future, we also want to invest in A, B, and C. Okay? That makes sense? So do not directly begin with your recommendation. Your recommendation is always backed by either an issue or an opportunity as your justification. Okay, so think about this. If you want to have a clear story, you must have a clear issue or opportunity that you were able to identify so you could leverage on that to give your solutions. Okay, now, if you're able to establish your issue and opportunity, sometimes people will say, okay, now, do I deliver the solution? Well, the interesting thing is, please don't do that yet. Because when you talk about the problem, people usually would agree. Okay, again, I guarantee you, if you're going to present to some corporate executive, you're going to tell them what's going wrong with their business, what's happening with the customer. They will say, yeah, interesting. But now, when you bring out the solution, they might start to challenge you. Okay, so here's the question. When people challenge you, what are they really challenging about? That's the thing you want to analyze. So of course, I know that a lot of you are still year one students. You might not get a lot of these challenges, but I will tell you, in a real corporate world, you would always get challenged from your senior manager asking you, why are we doing this? Why not that? Why do you think this is better? Hey, what about that? So they would ask you a bunch of questions that does not necessarily mean that your solution is not good. Just they want to understand your thinking process. Okay? They want to understand your thinking process. Why? Because people have a tendency that they want to have the best solution, even though if I understand it's not the perfect solution. Okay, one more time. People are looking for a best solution, not the perfect solution. Because the very important thing about human psychology is we do not want to lose out. So if I'm going to give you one solution and you say yes, that feels like I'm not sure if I was able to maximize this opportunity or whatever solution you're providing. So how can I prove to my audiences this is already the best idea? Of course, through comparison, because that's how we define best, right? Okay, so now if I go back to the whole story flow, I hope for you back there you have a good vision, okay, because the board isn't too big right here. Now, first of all, the story, it always begins with the objective. What I want to talk about today and what's in it for you. It has to be something that directly benefits the audiences for them to stay tuned. And for the background, if you understand what I talked about, it should look like a funnel, an inverted triangle, maybe starting from global level, Asia level, Greater China, here, Hong Kong, Shenzhen, whatever, industry, competitors, company level, category, brand, SKU. Level by level, there's a logical progression. And then it always comes down to an issue, okay? Because as I mentioned, if there's no bad guy, there is no story to tell. But it's the same as a movie. When you have a bad guy, do you kill them that easily? No, because if you kill them that easily, it's not going to be a great movie. Okay, you never seen a movie, there's a bad guy, oh, they tripped over in the street and they were dead. No, it doesn't happen like that. You need to battle and battle to make the movie more interesting. So, same thing about your business presentation. Once you're able to identify the issue, talk about the options you have considered. Well, we thought about A, we thought about B, we also thought about C. Well, to make it even more structured, you could also use some different criteria to make the assessment, including number one, the cost. Secondly, the efficiency. Number three, maybe the integration with our current system and our current operations. So you might say, option A, good, good, not so good. B, not good, good, good. C, good, good, good. So after careful consideration, we believe option C would be the best option available. Okay, everyone, I just want to take a second to pause right here. Makes sense to you? So why is this presentation so important? Okay, because again, if I could be completely honest with you, I've done a lot of these kind of training for case competition students. The key thing is, if you think about a corporate, today, when you're presenting to me, my key purpose is not to make sure I adopt your idea, okay? Because no matter how good your idea is, there are multiple reasons why I cannot execute it. What I want to know is, what was your thinking process? Because if you could demonstrate a good thinking process, that is how you impress me, even if I do not get to execute your idea. And again, what do we mean by thinking? Thinking is, what have you considered before you came to this conclusion? So think about it. In the past, if you only presented option C, well, people say, hey, why not A, why not B? But now, if everything that you could think about, I already thought about as well, and I'm analyzing for you A, B, and C, and why C is going to be best based on the comparison, even if you would agree this is not the perfect solution, I hope you could agree this is already the best available option. Okay, so one more time. People are looking for the best, not looking for the perfect one. And in order to show this is the best, you need to do it by comparison. So the thing is, even if your conclusion does not change, just simply the way that you present it would already make a difference. So of course, this depends on the duration that you have for that presentation. But I will tell you, if you want to demonstrate more strategic thinking to your audiences and judges, let me help you define. You know what strategy means? It's a broad topic, right? If you could define strategy in the most simple way, strategy simply means choosing priority. Yeah? Strategy is all about choosing priority. If you think about it at a country level, company level, what do you mean by strategy? Is out of all the things that we analyze, we choose this because of that. That is what we call strategy. So how are you able to demonstrate strategic thinking in your presentation is exactly show me what you have thought about before how you came to that conclusion. Okay, a very important way to show that thinking and also make a better and more convincing presentation right here. Okay, so after that, then you could go to step 5, which is the action. Meaning, after considering a few different strategic options, we decided to go for this one. And why? So you're going to make some justifications, right? No problem. Now, the thing I want to remind everyone is, in any kind of business presentation, please make sure you also mention the expected impact. What I mean by the expected impact is you need to quantify the results. Okay, you need to quantify the results, because I will tell you, the number one red light as a judge when I'm listening to students, okay, I understand you guys might not have worked yet. I'm not expecting a very sophisticated business proposal. But what I want to see is more maturity. And what I mean by maturity is at least you try to think from my point of view. Okay, so again, if you are going to be the corporate executive, no matter how good your idea is, what would I want to know? Well, how much is it going to cost? How did you come up with the cost? Did you have proper benchmarks so it's realistic? Secondly, what is going to be my return on investment? So it's great you're going to tell me you have these good ideas. It's great you're going to tell me what's going to be the cost, but the most important thing I need to understand is if I'm from Ocean Park's point of view, if I'm going to adopt your idea, how much more people am I going to attract? So besides the ticket income, how much are they going to be also spending within the park in terms of catering, in terms of souvenirs? So then, if I'm going to spend $10 executing your idea, how much am I going to get in return? And how did you come up with that number? Okay, so one more time, I'm saying all this at the level for a case competition because demonstrating your thinking is more important than making this practical at your stage. One more time, what I mean by that is I'm not saying that your idea is not practical, just at a corporate level, there are so many reasons why I'm not able to execute your idea. But again, if you could demonstrate for me, you have considered a lot in terms of how the numbers add up. Okay, so of course, if you want me to invest in new attraction, my first question is, how long is gonna be the payback period? 3 years? 5 years, 7 years. So if you look at the overall P&L and the overall traffic of Ocean Park, okay, with your attraction versus without your attraction, how is it going to differ between that in 3, 5, or even a 10-year projection? So projection is a projection. No one can challenge that. The key thing is what benchmarks are you using and does it sound realistic? Okay, so I just want to share one more tip as well to make it more sophisticated. Again, I guess most people do not expect this from a university student, but what I'm sharing with you is not something that only a university student would do. Is you could do case scenarios. This is the base case. This is the worst case. This could be the best case. So meaning, okay, let's say I'm going to be assuming I'm going to be recommending this new attraction. What if we could increase traffic by 5%? And every participant would be buying this amount of money of dollar in the park. That's case one. Case two, we're only able to increase traffic by 2.5%. Case three, we could increase traffic by 8%. Okay, so there could be different cases. One more time, no one has a crystal ball, so no projection would be completely perfect. The thing you want to show the audiences and the judges is, I have thought about it, I have the maturity, just like a full-time corporate staff. Okay, so I know it's a pretty demanding given for the Ocean Park pace. Maybe right now you don't have all the data, but what I'm saying right here is not only to get you prepared for the Ocean Park case, is for all your future case when you have all the data. Are you able to project the results, and how did you project it? What benchmarks were you using, and what scenarios were you planning for? Okay, think about that. That number has to be solid for people to make the decision. Finally, of course, it comes down to the next step. I love your idea. Overall timeline, how long is it going to take? 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? How many phases? And also, as an audience, what do we want to do next? Yeah, because it's going to be key to have this follow through, so I make sure this is going to be something actionable. Okay, everyone, take a second to digest a little bit. Please do let me know if you have any questions. Pretty simple logic, right? Now, but if you think about it, again, I told you that this class I deliver to a lot of corporate executives, even for someone who has worked in the corporate for 10, 15, or 20 years, a lot of people miss out these kind of small things. And I just want to mention one more again, what are the small details? Number one, most people when they present, they always forgot about the objective. They directly begin with the background, so people have no idea what you want to talk about, and they have no patience level because I don't know what's the value for me. Number one. Number two, of course, everyone talks about background. Usually what they're missing is they do not give me the bigger picture information. They directly begin with a certain project or a certain level, which provides me no context of what's happening. And I would say for any kind of business case, I would guarantee you the owner would love to see what's happening in the industry, what's happening with the competitors. If you're not starting from that level, you do not provide a lot of insights for me. Secondly, do you have that logical progression? Okay, I hope you guys understand what I mean. One more time, global level, Asia level, Greater China level, maybe Hong Kong, Shenzhen level, then industry level, company level, category level, brand level, product level, all the way down, there has to be some progression. Because if you give me a lot of information which is in a random sequence, I'm not able to follow, then I start to get confused. Okay, so being able to get that sequence right is not easy. I want you to think about that very clearly to show your logical mind. Then the issue is always something that people miss out. Okay, even myself, as a marketer in my career, I make the same mistakes. When I was younger, when I make marketing plans, I would just tell my marketing director, I have a few great ideas, A, B, and C, and I keep on focusing on the execution details, which I get very excited about. Okay, I hope it's not going to be the same for your Ocean Park case. But then my directors would be asking, Gary, I like this idea, but where did it come from? There has to be a justification. And where does that justification come from? Again, it's coming from the business issues you were able to identify. Okay, so I just want to give everyone one tip, is in any cases, if you could sell something as an issue versus something as an opportunity, would you want to sell it as an issue or an opportunity? Issue or an opportunity? Yes, issue is always better. You know why? Because issue gives you sense of urgency. If it's only an opportunity, it sounds like it's nice to have. Okay, so again, selling someone to get away from a loss versus selling someone towards gain, away from loss is always more convincing than towards gain. That's a very important concept you need to learn. Now, thinking, of course, not to mention, most people miss out this part. So what happens is people keep on challenging you, asking a lot of questions. Hey, why not this? Why not this? So what I want to do is be proactive and be transparent to tell you all the things I've considered before I'm going to give you an answer. So I just want to give everyone one concept as well, okay? Because earlier, Stella also told me, I guess you guys have some difficulty sometimes handling Q&As. Well, honestly, there is not a standard way to handle Q&As. But what is the better way to avoid Q&As is whatever you feel like would be a potential concern from your audiences, try to address them proactively before they ask you. Okay, that makes sense? Again, always anticipate what concerns that your audience would have and address them proactively before they ask you. Meaning, if now you want to propose something, you know that people have something holding back. So you would say, well, this is the idea we're proposing. So I know that you might be thinking, is this executable, or is this something that the young consumers would really prefer? We have this information for you. At the same time, you know that you might have this concern. Is this already the best idea? You know what? We already compared these options as well. That's what I mean by proactively addressing the concerns. Okay, so again, Q&A is unavoidable, but if you have a sense of always proactively addressing these concerns, it would minimize the number of questions you would get. Action, of course, everyone is going to take action. Finally, just you need to remind yourself, you need to have a good expected impact, meaning always quantify the results. And one more tip right here is whatever results you're quantifying, that number needs to be a KPI of your audiences. Okay, so in the future, if you're really joining these case competitions from different companies like L'Oreal or whatever, you need to understand who is your core audience. Are they a general manager? Do they come from marketing? Do they come from operations? Do they come from finance? Because their KPI would be different. And when do I feel like your proposal is going to be impactful for me? Is when you could show me a number that I care about. Okay? So being able to kind of numerize that result is going to be extremely important. Good so far? Good so far? Yeah? Okay, so now I want to give you just one quick example right here, because whatever I'm telling you right here, hopefully it sounds very simple, but it's not something that people usually think about, including myself when I was younger. So remember, okay, as a marketer, I would describe me as a better storyteller in general, but it's until when I joined Apple that I really upskilled my storytelling skills, because I realized everyone there at Apple are really good storytellers. And of course, it starts from Steve Jobs. Okay, so I'm not sure if you guys read a lot about Steve Jobs. So of course, he was the spirit and a lot behind the Apple brand. So what I did back at that time is actually I went online and tried to study all Steve Jobs videos. So I was not only watching his videos as a little fan, I was trying to analyze what makes him so effective. Because we will always say, for a good speaker, they are structured, they are logical. Yes, I understand. But what do we mean by structured? What do we mean by logical? People usually do not define it at that level, and I wanted to find out. So after analyzing a lot of speeches, a lot of videos, what I realized was every single Apple presentation that Steve Jobs made when he was still alive actually follows a very similar story structure. Okay, what I want to show you is a very, very good classic one. Is back in the days in 2007. I hope you guys were born already. That was the time when he was launching iPhone, and let's take a look in terms of how he told his story.
And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. If you kind of make a, Business School 101 graph of the smart axis and the easy to use axis, phones, regular cell phones are kind of right there. They're not so smart, and they're, not so easy to use. But smartphones are definitely a little smarter, but they actually are harder to use. They're really complicated. And what's wrong with their user interfaces? Well, the problem with them is really sort of in the bottom 40 there. It's this stuff right here. They all have these keyboards that are there whether you need them or not to be there. And they all have these control buttons that are fixed in plastic and are the same for every application. Well, every application wants a slightly different user interface, a slightly optimized. And each of these revolutionary user interfaces has made possible a revolutionary product: the Mac, the iPod, and now the iPhone. So, a revolutionary user interface. We're going to build on top of that. I can get a list of Starbucks here, so I can pick that one if I want. And I can even go look at that Starbucks. And there it is, and let's give them a call.
Good morning, Starbucks in Howard. How can I help you?
Yes, I'd like to order 4,000 lattes to go, please. No, just kidding. Wrong number. Thank you. Bye-bye. We're going to be shipping these in June. Yeah, June. We're announcing it today because with products like this, we got to go and get FCC approval, which takes a few months. And we thought it'd be better if we introduced...
Okay, so no surprises right here. Basically, every single time when you describe someone as a logical and a structured person, it's basically the same flow. You could call it storytelling. It's also very simple, logical thinking. Starting from the objective today, what do I want to talk about? And also, what's in it for you to attract your attention? Secondly, for the background, you see that Steve Jobs was starting from analyzing all the markets, all the phones out there in the market. So if you think about it, okay, just now when you were listening to him, you might say, that sounds like a pretty logical approach, so what's special about that? But if you think more carefully, he could always choose to directly begin his presentation by introducing the product itself and also the features of iPhone, right? And most people do that. And when you do that, there's no storytelling. He wants to relate to the bigger picture and what you are thinking about. So then he starts with all the market level analysis, and then it always comes down to an issue. Okay, because Steve Jobs well understands if all the phones out there were perfect, why would you need a new phone called the iPhone? So he needs to build a common enemy. There needs to be a problem that you could agree with as well to justify why you want to get something new. So back in those days, okay, I know this might look pretty old for you guys, but BlackBerry, Nokia, believe it or not, they might be even more popular than Apple back in those days. So these phones, they have a problem because they have all these buttons right here, which limits your screen size. So then he also talked about the thinking process in terms of different concepts that he have considered. So even if you do not understand all the technical details, he's trying to give you the feeling that, this is a well thought out solution. Okay, that's the most important thing. This is a well thought out solution because you already considered this. You must have taken care of my concerns as well. Then finally, you also have an action, which I said that you need to have an expected impact. So in this case, it's not about quantifying the results, but for an everyday consumer, what do I want to know? Is I want to see how you make a phone call and how you order a cup of coffee. Okay, so I just want to remind everyone, this is back at 2007, so whatever Steve Jobs was doing was very groundbreaking back in those days. Finally, if you're good with the idea, then next step, where should I buy it and how can I buy it? Okay, good. Okay, again, simple idea. So now I just want to conclude it in one simple idea. Right now, no matter it's going to be about the Ocean Park case, no matter it's going to be about any case you're trying to do, try to ask yourself, does your pitch sounds like a sales pitch? If it sounds like a sales pitch, usually it's not going to be very effective. What differentiates a storytelling versus a sales pitch? If you think about it, this is not a sales pitch. Every story is about problem solving. One more time. Every story is about problem solving. Think about a movie. Think about a novel. What happens is a hero solves a problem, right? So if you understand the same idea, storytelling should also be about problem solving. So the angle you want to come from is no matter who you're presenting this to, you want to give them a feeling, I am here to help you solve a problem. If you could frame it in that way, it would be a lot more convincing to them. Okay, so one more time, ask yourself this question. For the Ocean Park case that you have just thought about, does it sound like you're pitching me a new idea, or does it sound like you understand my concerns and you're helping me to rejuvenate my business? That angle would be completely different. Okay, so everyone, haven't been hearing you for a lot, so far so good. I just want to quickly check if this makes sense to you for the story flow. And again, I just want to mention one more time, whatever I'm sharing with you right here is not only applicable in the Ocean Park case, is for any presentations you need to make. Even in the future, when you join the corporate world, it is the same idea. But once you have this concept, hopefully all the pitches you're going to make in the future, number one, it's going to be a lot more relevant. Secondly, it's going to be a lot more logical. And number three, it should be a lot more convincing, not only for the audiences, but also for you. Because what you're doing right now is not only presenting a lot of data and facts, you are actually presenting a logic right here, which you could understand what's happening before, what's happening after, and also the correlation between that information. Okay, one more time. Any questions so far? Good? Yeah? It's Friday, it's after lunch, okay? So I hope you guys are able to digest this. Okay, so now, why don't we take a second to pause a little bit, because I've been talking quite a lot. So now what I want to do is, can we just get into groups? So I would say roughly 4 to 5 people in a group, okay? So nothing more than 5. What I want you to do is to go back to the Ocean Park case and think a little bit about it. No matter it was the case you have prepared before coming to the session, or now, if you understand this is gonna be the story framework, if your next step is, you need to, for a simple pitch, either to the judge panel or to the Ocean Park executives, how would you form a story to convince them why your solution is going to be worthwhile with a story logic? Okay? Can everyone try to do this? Okay, so I will give you guys around 10 minutes. Again, get into groups, so just surround yourself with some new friends next to you, around 4 to 5 people a group. Discuss back to the Ocean Park case. How would you be able to form a short pitch, which might only take you 2 to 3 minutes to pitch, but again, you need to make sure that the story flow logic is clear in terms of how you kind of set the whole scene and how did you come up with the solutions. Okay, so please discuss a little bit, and later on, let's see if we have some time, we will try to introduce some of you guys to share your cases. Okay, so please discuss with your fellow classmates. Okay, I just want to quickly remind all the groups, if you don't have all the facts and data right here, it's all okay, because I know that the information is limited. So what I want you to focus on is the storyline. So even if you don't have the exact data, I want you to think about how would you want to be setting the scene of your story and just use some assumption numbers to begin with. Okay, we have around 4 more minutes. 4 more minutes. I hope that each group will be able to at least draft a rough storyline. A rough storyline. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, testing, testing. Hello, hello, testing, testing. Okay, so around 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Again, I'm not expecting a very full case, but I just at least want to see the overall structure of your story and the skeleton. Okay, so everyone, in view of time, I might want to wrap up the discussion right here. So I know the time was very limited, but don't worry, this is not an assignment, this is not an assessment. I just want everyone to kind of put together all these ideas, but at least try to kind of apply it once so you know what it means for your presentations coming up ahead. Now, okay, can I invite one of the groups? Do you have a relatively structured story already that you could share with us so we could kind of have an assessment in terms of how you're applying this? Any groups? Any groups? Okay, so it's recommended by Stella. I'm sure it's going to be a great group. So, sorry, which group right here? Here? Okay, great. So can everyone give a big hand to this group? Okay, so thank you very much. So just let us know what you guys have came up so far.
Test. All right. Okay, so before I get into my presentations, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Michelle Ho. Some probably already know for the Indonesians. I'm from Indonesia, I'm not from the Chinese. So we're thinking about these kind of things, the 6 steps that he already mentions, which is very inspiring for us. And so the question is, why are we talking about those kind of steps, right? So the objective here is, when I read the case, what we are thinking about is the objective, of course. That's the first thing you realize at the first glance. I skim, the second paragraph is about the finance, actually. So what is this about? It's basically about how we trying to increase the revenue, the cost and everything, how we increase as a customer path and also as a company POV, right? The second one, the backgrounds. So if you pay attention to it, the case, it has lots. So it's actually a very simple case, but it has a lot of elements. So I can mention 3. The first one is the Halloween. So imagine this is an ocean park, but the things that could bring out the biggest, profit for the company is the Halloween themes. So it's very irony, actually. It's very contrast, because it's ocean park, but then the Halloween is the things that bring us the most profit for the company. So it's very irony as well. So that's the first element that I pay attention to it. The second element is the pandas, and the third one is the bungee jumpings. It's the 2 solutions that they want to give out for the 2024s. So I pay attention for 2 aspects there, the bungee jumpings and also the pandas. So now come to the issues, what the issues, so how can we bring out those 2 elements and increasing the revenue? So that's the issues that I pay attention to it. So if we pay attention to the themes parks and the bungee jumpings and also the pandas, actually, which one is more aligned to the ocean parks? So we think about the Halloween's attractions, bungee jumpings and pandas. Which one is more aligned with the Halloween's? It's the bungee jumping. But we need to know the market of the Ocean Park itself is family markets. It's all age. Can the little kids play bungee jumpings? No, right? So which one more aligned? It's the pandas. So here's the irony here. It's quite critical thinking, so it requires critical thinking here. So we're thinking about how can this pandas brings out more revenues, but then if we see from the data, from the analysis, analyzed from the data, it's the Halloween itself actually brings out the most profits. So this is this challenge from our teams and probably most of the groups here to think about, right? I'm not going to give out more of the ideas because this is my team solutions. And this is the, including the thinkings, actions, and next steps. I couldn't give out more because this is going to be our presentations. But that's basically the three steps that we are thinking of right now. And probably they could answer your questions and the things that you have mentioned before.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for the group. Okay, great sharing right there. Okay, wonderful. It's not easy. Okay, so maybe I need to kind of collect this right here. Okay, thank you for sharing for this group.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for being able to put together this answer in such a short period of time. And I hope it also makes sense to everyone, because at least it makes good sense to me. So you're not just telling me why all of a sudden you want to do something, is I want to understand based on what background, based on what issue, based on what you thought about, and how you came up with this conclusion. So that justification would be very important. So of course, in view of time, I might not be asking other groups to share, because honestly, I think to be fair to you, you might need to take a little bit more time to think about it, but I hope you understand the rationale. So of course, this case is a little bit specific because I know that Stella already provided some background for you. So now I think the version I want to provide for you is, let's say if I was not given that background, if I were just an executive at Ocean Park, what I would be expecting, okay, so no right or wrong, this is just my expectation. First of all, I want you to help me analyze, if you have the data, how does the traffic look like for Ocean Park in the past 5 years? From all the way before COVID, all the way to today after COVID. So what I want to analyze is, no matter if the traffic is increasing or decreasing, why? What are the contributors? Is it because the visitors are going down, or is it because the locals are going down? So no matter it's going to be the visitors going down, the locals going down, I need to analyze one more level. Who within that group is going down? Is it the young people? Is it the family? Is it someone from different cities? Is it the China visitors? Is it from the first, second tier cities, third or fourth city? I need to kind of get that in to get to the issue. Because eventually, from an Ocean Park point of view, what I need to fix is my traffic and my revenue. Every initiative that you're sharing is just a tool to help me achieve that. Okay, so then I will get to the root of the issue. What is lacking right now? Local attraction or visitor attraction? And why are people not visiting Ocean Park again? Is it because the attractions are not related to me? Is it too repetitive? There's too much competition. People just like to go to Shenzhen. Whatever it is, you need to go to the root problem. Now, then you have a thinking. So of course, I think for this case, it's a little bit complicated because they already provided some options for you. Yeah, because it's not coming from scratch. So you might be thinking, okay, based on all the ideas we have, no matter it's going to be the bungee jump, no matter it's going to be like the panda economy, based on the issue and opportunity you identified, which makes more sense? And on top of those ideas, what can I also add on? Now, the key thing in order to make your story logical is the answer must connect with your root problem. Okay, the answer must relate to your root problem. So you just can't tell me all of a sudden, okay, we want to do the bungee jump because we like it. And then you keep on talking about the execution details. I still do not understand the justification. So this group, I think you mentioned a good point. If Panda is going to be more for family-oriented groups, bungee jump might be for the younger people. So who does Ocean Park want to attract? Younger people or families? From where and why? You need to figure it out to justify your idea. Okay, so those still could be options you want to think about. So after you kind of concluded the issue, you thought about these options, you feel like this is going to be the best, or these going to be my priorities. Finally, the same thing I'll be asking is, based on your action, can you project the impact for me? Meaning, you need to give me the numbers, okay? So again, even though you're a university student, you still want to kind of go for that mindset. How much investment is it going to take for all the things you mentioned? How long is it going to take for me to pay back all this project? And if I project my revenue, both top line, bottom line for the next 3 to 5 years, what is going to be the impact with your idea versus without the idea? Okay, so why do I want to mention this is because Halloween theme, I know it's a background, but is this related to your conclusion? If yes, include it. If not, do not include it, because you could expect in a case study, all the judge, like Stella, they're not expecting you just to repeat everything I gave you. What you need to do is able to screen through those background, what is relevant. So unless you're going to tell me your conclusion is you want to come up with something more festival because you feel like this is going to be something more thematic for Ocean Park, then you could mention the success of Halloween. Okay, but now if your only conclusion is you want to tell me we want to go for family-oriented groups, we want to go for Panda, then maybe Halloween is not going to be helping your story. Yeah, so you need to do a little bit screening. Okay, so now I know that for this case, again, Stella was very kind to give you all the background to make it easier for you to relate. But what you want to remind yourself is in the future for other more complicated case competitions, people are not going to give you a lot of information. You need to go dig out the information for yourself. So again, back to what I mentioned earlier, always think from the company and the executive's point of view, what would they want to know, not just what I want to say. Okay, so understanding your execution details is great, but the strategy and the justification behind is equally important. Okay, so quick check because we might need to move on to the second part. One more time, any questions about this framework? Good? So far, good, okay. So please take some time to digest it, and hopefully it's gonna help you hugely improve the logic and the structure of your story. Okay, now, the next part is I mentioned, for a good communication, it's almost like singing a song. You want to compose a great song, but at the same time, who's going to sing the song and how you're going to sing it makes an equal impact right here. So it comes down to your body language and also your audio expression. That is what you can see and what you could hear. So now, what I want to do is to share with you a few examples of how different executives speak. So now, when I show you all these kind of footages, I'm not suggesting who is better, who is not, because that's very subjective. But what I want you to do is please pay more attention in terms of their differences of how they use their body and how they use their voice and what different impact it creates to you as an audience. So let's take a look.
I mean, unless Mars is made self-sustaining, which will probably not happen in my lifetime, it is certainly not. It's meaningless to have an escape, lifeboat or escape hatch or something, if you're simply moving to another place where you will soon die out. That doesn't count. So much of a lifeboat, really. So this is really about, say, minimizing existential risk for civilization as a whole, and then having.
At Apple, we made our choice a long time ago. We believe that ethical technology is technology that works for you. It's technology that helps you sleep, not keeps you up, that tells you when you've had enough, that gives you space to create or draw or write or learn, not refresh just one more time. It's technology that can fade into the background when you're on a hike or going for a swim, but is there to warn you when your heart rate spikes or
the architecture of finance. And by that, I mean global currencies all the way down to payments, lending, and deposits. It's unbundling bit by bit, and it's rebundling around a new, largely digital architecture. And this happened in trading over the last few decades, and it was an evolution. But what we're seeing now is more of a revolution, with new architectures supplanting old ones. And the way our industry has operated for decades, it's going to be replaced with new ways. And
businesses, small and large, can improve their productivity as well as the affordability of their products and services by building tech intensity. But you don't come to these events just to hear about what happened or what is happening. You're asking what will happen in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years and what you need to do to prepare your organization. How you sell, how you support customers, how you market.
Okay, so now by carefully trying to analyze the body language and also the way they speak, I hope you find some elements right there which make them different. So now what I want to do is I want to analyze it for you. No matter it's going to be body language, there are 5 elements. Also for audio expression, there are also 5 key elements that makes a difference in terms of how you perceive that presentation. So take a note of that, because by the end of the session, what I'm going to try to do is to try to ask everyone to do a recording for yourself. Okay, because if you never record yourself, you're not going to see yourself, you're not going to do it if you're doing it right. So we're going to give it a try. So while you listen, the idea is going to be simple. I really want you to try to internalize it and try to demo some of these skills or techniques I'm talking about in your video recording before we end the session. Okay, so try to pay attention to this. Well, body language, a few things. The first thing I'm not sure you notice, for a great speaker, usually they have pretty good facial expression. And let me break it down for you. Facial expression is about two parts. One is your eyebrow movement. Secondly is about your mouth movement. So here's my first question. When you present, do you move your eyebrows? Yes or no? If you don't know, don't worry, because very soon you will be doing your own recording. So once you record yourself, it's going to be very, very obvious. But I would guarantee you, for whoever that you identify as a confident speaker, they are always moving their eyebrows. Just now, I'm talking to you now. I guess no one was analyzing my eyebrows. Is it a little bit more obvious right now? It either goes up, it either goes down. Okay, no rocket science right there. But if you're not activating this part, people just feel like you are not engaged. So what do I mean by that? It's almost like, can you imagine a dancer, a singer, they're performing and their eyebrows do not move. How do you feel? Feels like you're not engaged and you're not even passionate about the thing. And if you think about a good speech, it is also a performance. So if you want to demonstrate your passion, energy, and confidence, you have to remind yourself to move your eyebrows. Okay, very simple thing, but makes hell of a difference. Secondly is about your mouth movement. Okay, again, I guess it's not something you guys are analyzing, but now if you look a little more closely, do you realize how I move my mouth? Do you realize the movement is a little bit more exaggerated? And you know why? Because the only way to move your face is to move your mouth. Your face does not move naturally, right? It's because your mouth moves, then your face moves. And I just want to tell you one very important principle. What do we mean by engagement? Engagement comes from variety. Okay, engagement comes from variety. There is not a right or wrong body language, but if I keep on varying all the elements when I'm presenting, then it feels engaging. Because when things move, when things change, then that it gets your attention. So then you might be asking, oh, Gary, you're speaking. Of course your mouth moves. What's so special about that? Okay, if I could demo for a typical university student or a younger corporate staff, actually, this is how they speak. Good morning, everyone. My name is Gary. So now I'm just demonstrating an average speaker to you. I think it looks pretty familiar. So if you now start to realize, right now I'm not moving my eyebrows. I'm not sure if you feel there's a difference right there. And based on the way that I speak, I hope you're still able to listen to me. But now you see that my mouth movement is pretty minimal. So how do you feel about me? Do I feel confident anymore? But maybe not. And if you contrast the way that I speak, now I speak like this. Okay, so with that movement, without that movement, it makes all the difference. So if you're not used to it, what you need to do is really look at the mirror and try to talk like this. A lot of people never try to talk like this, and you will find this very, very tiring. But again, I guarantee you, if you go back home, check online, no matter what you like to watch, all engaging speakers have a lot of facial expressions, okay? So take a note of that. And also, one reminder, okay, because Stella told me you guys are very sharp, you guys always won the national championship, but when you go out there for a global level to compete, when you deal with people from a different part of the world, being able to smile makes all the difference. Yeah, do you ever smile? I would say most Asian people, including myself when I'm younger, what is the problem? Is we don't smile. Today I'm very excited to share with you some new ideas about Ocean Park. How excited are you? You don't look excited at all. Now you're a little bit too serious. When do I feel like you're charismatic? Is when you could smile in this situation. Why? Because when you're smiling, it feels like you're a little bit more relaxed, so that's why I feel like you are confident. But everything has a balance. If you don't smile, you look very stiff. Some people, you smile. The problem is you smile too much. You understand what I mean by smiling too much? Demo. Hi, everyone. My name is Gary. I'm from CHUHK, the Shenzhen campus. I'm very happy to share with you some ideas. Now I'm smiling, but do I feel confident? I guess not, because you realize why? I cannot stop my smile, and as I mentioned, engagement comes from variances. If you smile all the time, it's not going to be the way. And if you look carefully, are my eyebrows moving? No, it's because when my eyebrows are moving, I'm not able to show that I'm really dedicated to the topic. Okay? So I know that everything sounds very, very minor, but later on, when you record yourself, things would be very obvious. Okay, so analyze your eyebrows, analyze your mouth movement, analyze your smile as well. Secondly, okay, eye contact. I know that it sounds simple enough, but when you're talking, are you really looking at your audiences? Because as a confident person, you should be trying to look at your audiences all the time, besides the time that you're really looking into your slides. But what happens is, in reality, most people, when they're presenting, they keep on looking at the slides because they want to avoid eye contact. So most people, again, if I could do it for you, is today we want to talk about the Ocean Park case. First of all, I'm going to give you some background right here. So now you're starting to notice a lot of people just kind of look at the slide all the time, even there's not a lot of information on the slide. So you might be asking, what are they really reading? Well, for them, I think it's not reading. It's just they want to avoid the eye contact with the audiences so everyone could feel like you're not confident enough. So really, if you guys have some rehearsals in the future, please record yourself and analyze your eye contact. Most people spend 50% or more time just looking at the screen. And when they're not looking at the screen, what do they look at? They look at the floor or look at the ceiling. I just want to tell you, this is natural, because when do you look at the ceiling? When you try to recall some memory. What did you have for dinner last night? You look up. When do you look down is when you try to recall feelings. How did you feel when you were first admitted to CUHK? These are natural things when you're having a one-to-one communication, okay? But now as a presenter, I'm not expecting you're still improvising. You should be well prepared. So one more time, if I'm talking to you, I always look at here, I always look here, I always look here. How do you feel? All of a sudden, you have a feeling that this person doesn't really know their stuff, because when you know your stuff, you should be looking at your audiences all the time. Okay, so I'm not kidding you. This takes practice, and a lot of practice. You need to train yourself. It's not that I'm not thinking about things. I guess you could realize I did not memorize my script today. How do I think about things? I am thinking right now, but I have trained myself to look at you guys while I'm thinking. As versus, if I'm thinking like this, then you feel like I'm doubting myself. Okay, so one more small tip. If you're addressing a big group just like today, don't just look at one point. Make sure you try to look at every single person in the room, from left to right, from bottom to up. Because when you're able to do that, it makes people feel like you are not afraid of the audience. Okay, very, very important, but you need to analyze yourself. Eye contact is not easy. Third thing, hand gestures. You see my hand gestures, right? Did you analyze my hand gestures? I guess no. Now, let me help me analyze it for you. Basically, if you want to look more confident, there are two axes you need to take care of, and there are two dimensions. One is the width of your hands. Secondly is the height of your hands. Question number one. For a more confident speaker, do they put their hands wider, or do they put their hands less wide? Wider, okay? So for a confident person, usually they have open motion. And you know what I mean by open motion is, I would like to analyze for your body motion. Do you have more on body movement or more off body movement? What I mean by on, what I mean by off, demonstrate again. On body movement. My hands are on top of my body, that is on body movement. My hands out of my body, that is off body movement. So both are important, because as I mentioned, you want variances. But the key thing is, most people, when you're nervous, you only have on body movement. Why? Is because when you're nervous, naturally you want to protect yourself. And when you want to protect yourself, your hands get very close to your body, so you look like this all the time. Now, do I look confident to you? Obviously not, because I feel a little bit too protective. So being able to open up your body every now and then makes a huge difference. Okay, so based on my experience, if I could look at one of the photos you have done in your recent case competitions, I could almost already tell, are you confident enough? Because for confident people, usually they would be able to extend their limbs and also fingers in a more natural way. So if you were taking a photo like this in your competition, I know you're confident. So you might be thinking, what's special about this motion, Gary? You know what? Most people, when you're not so confident, what happens is you are not able to fully extend your limbs, because when you're nervous, everything curls in. So you might be looking a little bit like, you see the difference? This versus this is completely different. And I also want to remind everyone about one thing. It would be very clear when you take your videos later. Most people, when they're nervous, they are not aware. They curled in their fingers. Now, do you notice when I'm talking to you, my fingers are well stretched? This makes you feel like I'm more confident and more convicted. Now, let me give you a demo. I'm speaking the same way, but now I curl in my fingers a little bit. Makes a difference? Now my hand's a little bit closer. Makes a difference. More extreme, if I look like this, do I look confident anymore? No, because these are all the subconscious things you can mention. So please, analyze yourself. If you don't record yourself and go out, it's almost like a basketball team. You're not even watching your videotapes and you go and play a game, you're going to lose for sure. Just analyze all these things. Because the good news is your body could always move like this. It's just that you've forgotten, and you know what? Your body is always honest. So if you're nervous, you always show it to everyone right there. You might be the only one who does not realize. So again, if I could give you a demo, if I'm very nervous right now, chances are I might be speaking like this. Hi everyone, my name is Gary. So today I want to talk about the Ocean Park case. So now you realize when you're nervous, you tend to shift around a little bit, and most people actually start to touch your hands. And when you touch your hands, what happens is unwillingly you start to kind of rub your fingers, so you do not notice, but people can see that. And you know what? Body language is very consistent because now I'm showing everyone I'm nervous. So what never happens is a very nervous person who comes like this, all of a sudden goes that I feel like for Ocean Park, we have a lot of opportunities. Okay, so that's not going to happen because your mindset is locking in your body language. So I'm sure you heard about this before. Fake it till you make it. What I mean by fake it till you make it is move your body in a very confident way. Force yourself. And you know what? When you move confidently, you start to feel confident. So there's a cycle right there. Okay, so the only barrier you have is, are you willing to try? A lot of people, it's not that you don't know the method, is you're not willing to try because just of your self-perceptions. So give it a try because the best opportunity to develop your presentation skills is during university and during these case competitions. Okay, so that was about the width of your hands. Open up a little bit more. Secondly, is about the height of your hands. Okay, question again. Confident speaker, do they put their hands higher or do they put their hands lower? Higher. How high? Oh, wow, you guys are very technical. Okay, so I never really had those measurements, but I would tell you, in general, I would put it somewhere around the chest level. Okay, this level makes you look more authoritative and more business professional. Because if you think about it, above your chest, this looks a little bit dramatic. Below your chest, you see, this feels a little bit low energy. So I'm not sure if you realize, now I'm talking to you, though I'm holding a microphone, my hand right here always follows the same principle. It's always here. Yeah, you see me talking to you right here. If I talk to you right here, all of a sudden you already feel like the energy is going down. Secondly, you see me having a lot of off body motion. I hope it feels a little bit more obvious to you. I do a lot of these extensions to show you that I'm comfortable on the stage. Okay, so width of your hands, height of your hands. Okay, finally, later on, when you guys take your videos, what's gonna happen is you might say, Gary, I understand what you're talking about. Keep my hands higher, keep my hands wider. Okay, let's shoot the video. Hi, everyone. My name is Gary. Today, I want to talk about Ocean Park. So now, do I make you feel like I'm confident? No. What is missing? Because there's still one element is back to what I mentioned. You have to have variety. If you don't have variety, you look like a robot, you look like an AI person, which is not ideal. And where does variety come from? Is you want to visualize your content. Okay, you always want to visualize your content. By the way, I have been doing this since the first word came up from my mouth, and I'm not sure even if you're aware. Now, let me do it one more time for you. Now we're talking about body language. We started from facial expression, including your eyebrow movements, your mouth movement, and also, are you smiling? Then we talked about eye contact, and ideally, you want to maintain at least 90% of eye contact with all your audiences. And now we're talking about hand gestures, which I mentioned. Your hand should be a little bit wider, a little bit higher, and more variances. You see what happened just now? It's actually something pretty natural. Most good speakers are doing this. It's just you do not analyze this. So now, why am I forcing you to record yourself? Because it's until you record yourself, you start to realize your hand patterns. And if it only has one way of moving, then it becomes boring. Then you look like a nervous person. Okay, so try to visualize things with your hand gestures. Next thing, body movement, extremely important. Has anyone noticed I have been moving around for quite a bit? You know why? Because it's Friday. It's after lunch. I see some of you are sleeping, and I understand. Okay, I've been in your position. I'm tired as well. Now, the thing is, how do I try my best to keep your guys engaged is through walking. Because you know why? When I'm walking, what happens to your eyes? Your eyes are subtly moving. Because in the ideal scenario, when I'm speaking, if I could get you moving, then you're the most engaged. So when I speak, your hands are not going to move, right? Your legs are not going to move. How can I make you move? Is making your eyes move. So the concept is almost like if you don't want your laptop to go to sleep, what do? You move the mouse cursor to keep it awake. Now I'm doing the same thing. When I walk around, suddenly your eyes are moving a little bit, so I have a better chance to keep you awake. Okay, that's number one. Number two, if you think about it, I mentioned again and again, engagement is all about variety. And when you watch these kind of films, these kind of dramas, what happens? Even in the same scene when two characters are talking, they always keep on changing the angles. Right? Why? Because they want variances to kind of create that excitement and that stimulus. Same thing. If you only look at me at one angle all the time, it becomes boring to you. So why do I need to move? Because sometimes you look at me at this side, sometimes you look at me at this side, sometimes you're closer to me, sometimes you're further away from me. It's those variants that I continue to keep you engaged, and not to mention about the confidence level. How do you feel about me differently when I walk around? It feels like I'm more owning the stage, right? Because this is my place. And I just want to mention one more thing, which is a very simple but important tip right there. Where you stand makes all the difference. Do you guys realize where I'm standing? Do you see that I stand pretty close to you guys? You feel like it makes a difference? You see speakers standing right here? Most people don't stand right here. Where do they stand? I know I'm exaggerating a little bit, but most people like to speak in corners. Okay, can you imagine if we're doing the whole session like this? I was speaking like you all the time right here. How do you feel about me? Do I feel more confident or less confident? Of course, less. Why? Is because my body language is already showing you I am not ready to interact and I'm afraid of you guys. Okay, and I would say most students present right here. That's okay, as long as you're aware. But next time, if you happen to present in this wonderful stadium, just, of course, I'm not asking you to stand right here. And of course, if you want to take it to the extreme, you could imagine when I come up, it also makes you feel a little bit different, right? You can see a difference? Because when I get closer to you guys, how does it make you feel? It makes you feel that I am not afraid of the audience. And what does that translate into? Confidence. Yeah, but of course, if these are your judges, don't come up. Now, what I want to say is find a balance point. But imagine if I'm going to be the judge downstairs, you start the presentation standing in the middle and right here, makes me feel like you're confident. If you start from the corner, it makes me feel like you're not confident. Okay, so the starting point makes all the difference, and I'm not sure if you have this experience. If you're not very experienced in doing public speeches, just asking you to stand right here to talk would already make you very nervous. So you need to train yourself, okay? Get used to it. No worries. That's why you want to join Stella's team, right? Okay. Next thing, sitting versus standing. Well, that's, I think, a pretty easy question is why would you want to stand every time? Number one, you could move around. And one more time, can you just imagine? I was doing the speech all day right here. How would you feel? Do you think I could engage you that much? Maybe not, because again, the energy level is not there. And one more very important thing is when you stand up, literally, I'm forcing you guys to look up to me, right? So why do I want to get closer? Because when I get closer, sorry, I have to get you again. You see, when I get closer, you're kind of forced to looking up to me, as versus when I'm far away, you actually look down on me. Yeah, so physically, I'm changing your angle looking at me, and it makes a difference in terms of how you respect me and how you feel about me. Okay, so by the way, these are all techniques. Again, you could modify how much you want to do and how much you do not want to do. So there is always a range, almost like turning your volume. I'm not saying that every time you need to go volume 10. But now, if you want to shift from volume 4 to 6 to 7, obviously that would make a difference. So please think about these things. Now, secondly, about your audio expression, okay? A few simple elements as well. Number one, of course, you need to sound louder. When was the last time you hear someone speak like this and then you feel like, oh, that must be a very confident person. It's never going to happen. So please use the microphone and make sure that you project your voice loudly. Okay, so the very simple tip is keep your microphone closer to your mouth. I know it's a very simple thing, but you know what? Some people, when they're nervous, they talk like this. Today, I want to talk about the Ocean Park case. Basically, I'm not using the microphone, so keep it closer. When you have your voice going through the microphone, you sound a lot more authoritative. Secondly, is about your pace and rhythm. Okay, so some people speak faster, some people speak slower. Nothing good or bad, it's different styles. But at this point in time, I guess you guys could realize I tend to speak pretty fast. Okay, that's my style. I want to keep things more energized. And that is actually a conscious choice. Because you know what? I can speak very slowly. And if I do it this way, I hope you feel there might be a little bit more of authority. But what happens is you want to sleep. Because you know why? People have no patience. Okay, so again, it's a conscious choice. I just want to kind of contrast this to you. I tend to keep it this way is because it matches with my character and my energy. So this is up to you. So the key is not only about your pace, but actually about your rhythm. And what I mean by your rhythm is changing of pace. Okay, rhythm is about changing of pace. Meaning, sometimes I'll speak very quickly, but for the next sentence, you'll realize I start to slow down a little bit. And if I want to tell you something very, very important that I want to make sure it registers in your mind, I would use my slowest speed to tell you, this is something you must remember. Then I go fast again. Okay, so the concept is almost like for any kind of song, you never heard a song that goes with consistent speed, right? Sometimes it's faster, sometimes it's slower. Still, it goes back to variances. So if you understand the key to engaging your audiences is all the body language I could use, all the voice techniques I could use. When everything is varying all the time, that's what makes you engaging. That's what makes you feel confident. Okay, so think about it because most people, they only have one pace, either fast or either slow. You need to change it every now and then. Third thing is emotions. Okay, I know this would be a little bit challenging for you, but let me try to ask you, when was the last time you heard one speaker speak which had no emotions at all? And at the end of the speech, you went, wow, that was impressive. It's not gonna happen because impressive is a feeling. If I'm the speaker, I don't even feel anything, how can I get you feel anything? Okay, so back to, I think, Stella told me multiple times, sometimes you guys are doing great at the national level, but sometimes you might find challenges dealing at the global level. One key difference for people from the Western side in terms of presentation, they tend to have a lot more emotions. They speak like this, with conviction, with passion, with dedication. They feel what they say. Okay, if I say the same thing, with dedication, with passion, with conviction, I don't even feel what I'm saying when I'm saying the same content. How do you feel differently? It is completely different. Okay, so I just want everyone to be aware because I know that here in the Asia culture, we're not very used to expressing that many emotions in your speech. But one more time, your speech is almost like a performance. Can you imagine a singer who sings without emotions? What are you gonna do? You would not want to listen to that person. So I don't need you to be very exaggerated, but at the very least, I've been talking to you for nearly 2 hours. Can you feel my emotions? Yeah? I'm gonna tell you, this is important. You know how I told you? First of all, look at how I step my feet. This is important. I need to use my eyebrows, open my mouth, and kind of enhance my volume level and say, this is important to make you feel like it's important. If I only say, this is important, so make sure you remember this, it's gonna feel very, very different. Okay, so I just wanna say, if you really want to upskill yourself in terms of presentation skills, there's gonna be a lot of things that you're not gonna feel comfortable with. But whatever that you don't feel comfortable with, it doesn't mean it's not good. Okay, if you're a pretty bad speaker, now all of a sudden you become a good speaker, that also feels uncomfortable. So you just need to give yourself this conviction that if you really want to be a better speaker, this is a perfect starting point to train yourself. Next thing, fillers and tone. Okay, so what happens is a lot of people speak, they have a lot of these kind of things. So I'm not sure if you're doing this the same. If you're not aware, later when you take the videos, it's going to be a little bit more obvious. So my question right here for you is, a lot of people do these A's and M's, and you know why people do this? What are A's and M's for? Thinking. Okay, very good. Now, if you want to think, I just want to ask you a question. Can you think quietly? I guess you can. Yeah, because now you're back at home, you're typing an email, you're not gonna go, Now, if you're thinking about something over a shower, you're not gonna go, Human beings do not need to make a sound or a noise when you're thinking. So one more time, when it comes to public speaking, why all of a sudden people start to do these as and ums? It's not something cautious. It's because people are the most uncomfortable with silence. Silence make people very, very uncomfortable. Okay, so now, if I could just give you one demo right here. I'm just gonna stay silent for 5 seconds. Let me try to put it this way. If I could try to use Chinese for a second. 如果你不尴尬，尴尬就是别人。So if you are not embarrassed, then your audience starts to get embarrassed. So this is going to be key. Why do most speakers start to do these as and Because you start to feel embarrassed when all the attention comes to you. Well, that's normal, but that's exactly why I feel like you're not confident. So now, what do I mean by being able to hold a pause? Is I am better than you in terms of taking that embarrassment. So if you get embarrassed sooner than me, then I become the more confident person. So if you think about it, for any kind of speech, if you want to show authority, you need to say something and you need to stop. If I don't stop, I just keep on talking, blah, 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 then how is it going to make you feel? All of a sudden, I don't feel authoritative anymore. So that sequence of speaking is very important. So now, at your age, I don't need you to be very dramatic because it might sound odd. But every now and then, at the very least, what you want to do is make sure you cut out all the is and ums in between. It will make a world of a difference in terms of how people perceive you. Okay, again. If you really want to know how many as and ums you're doing right now, the only best way to do is to record yourself. And don't worry, you're going to be doing that very soon. Now, one more thing is about the tone. Well, for the tone, I would say the tone either goes up, it either goes down. So here's the question is right now, do you have tone variances? Let me just give you 3 very simple patterns. This is a flat tone. This is a flat tone. This is a flat tone. There are 3 different ways. Either you go flat, either you go up, either you go down. Now, what makes your tone more interesting is having a combination of all these things. Now, if you start to analyze, sometimes I go up, sometimes I go down. So you sound like there's variances. But most people, they have no variations in tone whatsoever. They just speak like this. They finish flat this time. They finish flat that time. They finish flat last time. That's why I don't see the variances. I don't feel like you're engaged on the stage. Okay? So the same thing as I mentioned about your pace. Most people do not change their tone, and most people do not change their pace. That's why they sound boring. But I want to remind everyone about one thing. If English is not your mother tongue, there's going to be a good chance you would make one mistake, is you keep on doing the uptone thing. What do I mean by that uptone? Okay, so let me give you this example. Even for a lot of people in the corporate that are trained, they do the same thing, even for senior executives. They will speak like this. Good afternoon. I'm very happy to meet everyone. Today, we're going to talk about Ocean Park. So we know Ocean Park is a very exciting place. Now you realize, even if I take out all the is and ums, you still don't feel like I'm confident. You know why? Because by the end of the sentence, it always goes up. And you know what? You might be doing the same. You just do not notice. Now it sounds like I'm exaggerating, but most people do that. Okay, so when my sentence finishes with an uptone, what does it make it sound like? Sounds like a question, right? Okay, so now, if I consistently throw you questions, how would you feel about me? Obviously, I am unsure about myself. And of course, I want to explain a little bit more psychologically, because if English is not your mother tongue, you are not completely confident, you would have self-doubt. Normal. The thing is, most people do not realize you have translated your self-doubt into your tone as well. So that means if everything sounds like a question, would I believe you? It's almost like you guys are an executive. I'm going to tell you, we believe this project, something we are very confident, Like, are you? Because you're still asking a question. It feels like you're always seeking for approval and no one would ever try to trust you, okay? So please, trust me this time. You need to record yourself, analyze your tone. Most people have that problem and you need to make sure you're able to fix it. Now, I hope it becomes more obvious to you. When you listen to me, most sentences finishes with a down tone. Because when it finishes down, this is what I mean, this is final. If I go, this is what I mean, this is final, it is not. Okay? So tone and fillers. Finally, pitch. Okay? So just a simple thing. Sometimes people speak with a higher pitch. Sometimes people speak with a lower pitch. Variation is important. But I just want to say, from a business point of view, ideally, you want to have a lower pitch. Why? You know why a lower pitch is better? Lower pitch gives you more confidence and more authority. And you know why? When you were a young kid at home, who has the highest pitch? Not your mom. Not you. There's one person who even has a higher pitch. That is, likely are, no matter what cartoon you're watching, someone like Mickey Mouse. Yeah, cartoon figures always talk like this. And when they talk in a very high pitch, you don't take them very seriously, right? Because it sounds funny. No, you're watching a cartoon. Your parents come over. Hey, shut the TV. Then you realize whenever people lower their voices, they mean it. Okay, so something I want to remind everyone, because now I know you guys are young, you tend to have a higher pitch. But if I could just demo for you, if you guys represent a university, case one, you'll come at, hi everyone, my name is Gary, I come from CUHK, I'm very excited to share something with you, versus, hi everyone, my name is Gary, I come from CUHK, there's something I'm very excited to share with you. How do you feel differently about the two cases? Obviously, the latter case will sound a lot more mature and a lot more trustworthy. Okay, so even you're young, even if you tend to have a higher pitch, it's the same thing. No matter you're male or female, try to maintain a lower pitch in a professional business context to dial up your authority. Okay, good? Now, we got all the 10 elements. Again, it might not be very obvious for you in the past, but now hopefully it looks a lot more obvious after you consciously interpret all these things. Now, let me give you one more example before we start to do the recording, is I want to show you this speech from Mark Zuckerberg. So I'm not sure if you've seen his speeches before, so obviously Mark is known to be a very smart person. He is not known to be the best speaker. So in the past, maybe you would have a judgment and say, he's kind of average, but this time I want you to be a little bit more technical. If you feel like he is not really that good, what is missing, what is going wrong from a body language and also an audio expression point of view? Okay, let's try to analyze a little bit together.
I used to love studying classics, and the word meta comes from the Greek word meaning beyond. For me, it symbolizes that there is always more to build. There's always a next chapter to the story. And for us, that's a story that started in a dorm room and grew beyond anything we could imagine, into a family of apps that people use to find one another, to find their voice, to start businesses and communities and movements that have changed the world. I'm proud of what we've built so far and excited about what comes next as we move beyond what's possible today, beyond the constraints of screens, beyond the limits of distance and physics, and towards a future where everyone can be present with each other, create new opportunities, and experience new things. And now it is time to take everything that we have learned and help build the next chapter. I am dedicating our energy to this more than any other company in the world. And if this is the future that you want to see, then I hope that you will join us. Because the future is going to be beyond anything we can imagine.
Okay, can you guys see the problem? Eyebrows were still, yes, very good. It almost disappeared, obviously because his eyebrows comes from a different color. But the thing is, it was not moving. So honestly, did you feel like he was confident in the speech? Chances are no, okay, because for all confident people, they actually move their eyebrows pretty consistently. Okay, so great observation. Anything else besides eyebrows? Hand movement. What about the hand movement? Okay, very good. I like you use the word non-natural, and I want to define non-natural for you. What we mean by non-natural means no variations. If you only have one way of doing it all the time, then it becomes not natural, okay? Great spot as well. Anything else? Anything? Okay, don't worry. Let's try to analyze it together. First of all, did you notice this? He tends to touch his hands quite a lot. As I mentioned, for better speakers, they tend to keep their hands a little bit wider. Okay? So when you touch your hands like this, how does it make you feel? Number one, you feel a little bit more conserved. Secondly, you feel more nervous right there. So I would say a little bit of touching hand is okay, but if you touch it all the time, then again, it feels like you are just not confident enough because you're protecting yourself too much. Secondly, you see the problem right here? Fingers? Okay, this is something very, very common. Most people, when they speak, when they're nervous, their hands becomes like this. What's going wrong? Number one, your hand is too close to your body. When your hand is too close to your body, you see how it feels? It makes you feel very nervous already. So you want to naturally open up yourself a little bit more. And your fingers, please try to stretch them. You see, when I stretch my fingers like this, I look like a confident person. Now if I talk like this, do I give you the same feeling? All of a sudden your power is down. So stretch yourself out, because when you stretch yourself, I can feel the power, I can feel the energy. Problem? Problem? Yes, very good. Hands are too low. When your hands are at the tummy level, again, could you imagine me speaking like this? All of a sudden, energy comes down. You want to have your hands a little bit higher, roughly at the chest level. Okay, you need to remind yourself, even if your hands are feeling tired, because that is a different way of presenting yourself. Finally, okay, thank you for the great spot right here. Eyebrows were not moving, and I want to mention one thing. Being able to maintain eye contact is very difficult. You actually need to train yourself over and over again, and I did that through multiple years. Because most people, when they speak, they tell you something, they look down. They tell you something, they look away. They tell you something, look away. All of a sudden, you are almost like a Wi-Fi that is cutting all the time. And when your Wi-Fi is cutting all the time, it's not going to be easy to deliver the message. The only way to engage people is to maintain that eye contact as much as possible. Okay? Good. That's a simple case study. So if you want to do that, you could do the same case study for any kind of speakers that you like or any kind of speakers that you do not like. Because now, once you become conscious about the components that make a difference, it will make all things different for you in terms of how we define a good presentation. Ready to record yourself? Yes. Okay, so now, everyone, I hope that you give me 10 more minutes because I was 10 minutes late, but I really want to do one thing, which is honestly beneficial for you. I know you guys came for a reason. You're spending your time after class because you want to be better at presenting. You want to join these case competitions. And I just want to tell you, whenever you record yourself, it's not going to feel comfortable. I would guarantee you. I even hate looking at my recordings. If I could be honest, after I did my TED Talk, I didn't want to watch my video. But at that time, I was already at a TED Talk level. I still didn't want to watch it because it's normal, right? People tend to be more critical to ourselves. But the key thing is, even like an NBA basketball player, even if you're going to be Blackpink, even if you're going to be a very famous singer, you're Andy Lau, whoever, what do? They must watch their previous performance in order to figure out what I could do better. So now, if you're not even a professional, there's no reason that you don't need to do this. You must do this. But don't worry, okay? Now I just want to kind of kickstart the process. I'm not expecting you to become a great speaker overnight, but at least I need you to have some awareness. So now, what I'm going to do is something very simple. I would ask everyone to take a video. Obviously, you're not going to come out in terms, or else I'm going to leave Saturday. Okay, so what I want to do right now is I only need you to find one partner sitting close to you. Please take out your phone, give them the phone, and ask them to help you take a 1-minute video. So what do you want to talk about? You could talk about anything. You could talk about your Ocean Park case. You could talk about your Shenzhen experience. You could talk about your CUHK love. You could talk about what you learned today. I don't care about the content. I just want you to focus on your body language, your facial expression, and also the way that you speak. Okay, now the good news is, because you're using your own phone to do the recording, so if you hate the recording, you get to decide what you want to do. Okay, I'm not going to put it on social media. That's not the point, but at least you need to have some self-awareness, because everything I taught you just now, it sounds very simple. But you know what? You guess no one was coaching Mark Zuckerberg? I'm pretty sure someone was coaching him. It still looked like that. So again, it takes quite a lot of practice and quite a lot of awareness. So can everyone do this for me? Just 5 minutes? Okay. So what I want to do, again, find one partner. We're going to do it 5 minutes. Take turns. Take that 1 minute video. But please do one thing. Is after you record it, don't delete it right away. Or else you're not doing anyone a favor. Is after you record it, please review the video together with your group mate and try to analyze it just like what we did to Mark Zuckerberg's video. Okay, what you're going to realize is my eyebrows, was it moving? My mouth, was it moving? Did I smile? Did I move my hands? Did I sound strange? Okay, I just want you to have a little bit of awareness. Okay? Good? So everyone, can you identify a partner right now? Just maybe the person sitting next to you. I just want 2 people in the group. 2 people in the group. Okay, so if you're okay, this is really for your own benefit. 5 minutes, please take turns. Shoot each other a video and record it. And I will highly recommend you not to leave right now because you're missing the whole point. Okay, so everyone, please, start right now. Okay, everyone who is running away, I would assume you don't have the attention to join the case competitions. Okay, so please, go ahead. It's only 5 minutes. Please, go ahead. Please watch the video after you record it. Okay, so around 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. Okay, share some feedback. Share some feedback. It's okay. We're just analyzing cases. Okay, very good, everyone. So time is up. I just wanted to give a big round of applause to your group mates next to you. And thank you for taking the courage to stay behind for this exercise. Okay, because again, the only reason I want to do this is I really want you to experience this because the concepts are easy. Is until you try it, then you start to notice the differences. And in the future, if you really want to improve, you need to do this process again and again. Look at your video, do adjustments. Look at it again, and then you kind of modify your style. So that also explains why most people never really improve in their presentation skills. Why? Because they never face themselves. So okay, again, thank you everyone for trying to do this. Okay, now, I know that time is limited, so I just want to kind of spend 1 or 2 minutes to kind of really conclude this a little bit. Everything we talked about today, number one, it's about the story logic. So think about the 6 steps. It's simply about objective, background, issue, which is the why, the justification of why we want to do something. Then the thinking, the action, the next step is the how. So every story is about the why and then the how. Then we talked about presentation presence, which we talked a lot about body language and also the way that you use your voice. Now, when it comes to the real life presentation, as much as you know all about these things, you would get nervous for sure. So I just want to share a little bit about the mindset that I try to tune myself to make sure that I stay calm on the stage. Number one, do you believe in what you're saying? Okay, I know it sounds very simple, but if you don't even understand your logic, you don't even understand your story, there is no way that you could become confident. So why do I need to start with the story flow? Because you need to convince yourself before you can convince anyone. Point one. Number two is, what is your intention? Okay, I know this might be a little bit complicated, but this is something I want to remind you. For any kind of speeches, my focus is not to convince you. My focus is not to impress you. My only focus is try to contribute positively. Okay? Think about this. For any kind of case competitions, if you focus on impressing people, you would get nervous. If you focus, you want to convince people, you would get nervous. Now, the only reason you're here, my intention is because I love this case. I love the idea. I feel like I have some ideas that might be helpful. So that's why I want to share it with you. If you love my ideas, wonderful. If you do not agree with my ideas, thank you for your time. Okay, so this is a very important thing. Even nowadays, I'm doing so many corporate trainings, I cannot guarantee I could convince you. I cannot guarantee I can impress you because that's not my focus. My focus is not about me, it's always about my audiences. So I really want to make this clear because whenever you're nervous, you're thinking too much about yourself. So one very simple story is when I was doing my TED Talk, I was very nervous, right? Because I'm going to go on YouTube. What if I'm going to fail this one, right? People usually don't fail on a TED Talk, so it's going to be very bad and it's going to be online forever. So what I want to remind myself is don't focus on myself. My focus is today in the TED Talk, I have a story to share. I know this story has power, it has energy. I want to share it with a lot of people. So what was going in my mind was I was thinking in the future, when this video is going to put on YouTube, you never know. Maybe there's going to be one kid in one part of the world that happens to click on my video. They got some inspirations and it made their life a little bit better. That was what I was focusing on. So when you focus on contributing, you forget about rejection. When do you think about rejection? Is when you're thinking too much about yourself. Okay, so I really want to bring this out because, again, Stella told me a lot about you guys. I know you guys are doing wonderful. It's very amazing that you guys are able to win the national title already. But when you go global, why do you feel like sometimes people are a little bit more relaxed than you? It all is about the intention. Now, again, your intention is to contribute something positive to the world and people around you, period. And if you're able to do so, I hope you'll get to more a congruent stage. As right now when I talk to you, I don't even think about my body language. I don't even think about how I use my voice because everything is already connected because from inner to outside, everything is consistent and there is alignment right there. Okay, so start from your intention, always focus out. Any final questions? Okay, so if that's the case, I just want to thank you everyone for staying behind and sorry for being late again. So thank you very much, all the best, and good luck to your future case presentations. Okay, thank you, and of course, more than happy to stay connected in whatever form you feel comfortable, Xiaohongshu, LinkedIn, WeChat, or even YouTube, okay? So thank you very much, and I would hand the time back to our host today. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary, and we give some applause to him. Okay, that's the end of today, and if you're available, please wait a second and take a picture with us, and just gather into the middle if you're available.